Great filmmaker Hayao Miyazaki once said, "My films show world's beauty, beauty otherwise unnoticed." That's what I want to see. Today, we are fortunate to have a personality among us who does just that. Lisa Smith. Her love for art and culture is truly spectacular. And I'm so glad that she could find some time for us from her busy schedule. Welcome to Sapien. This is Sam. Hi, Lisa. Thank you for joining us. Really appreciate your time.
Hi, Sam. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have been talking for some time, about your love for art. And of course, we actually talked so many different times that you all not only have a deep love for art, you also have deep love for books, deep love for culture. So that's amazing. So I actually very much into those things. So I really love it. So when I
Great.
actually find somebody who actually does, and I find I feel like a kindred spirit.
Perfect. So do I.
So I was actually wondering that if you could actually probably take your time machine and go back to time and tell us that how your love for art started.
I think it was probably already in progress before I was born. I have
Okay.
two older siblings
Uh-huh.
and one younger. My mom read to us a lot. I remember picnics in the yard on a blanket. She would bring snacks and she would read stories to us. I recently even bought a book on eBay that she had when I was a child, and I remembered it. It was one of my favorites, and I found a very old copy of that on eBay. But she always read to us. My parents always collected rocks and interesting pieces of nature that they could show and look at and discover more about. My dad was a painter. uh, my dad is still living, but he has macular degeneration, so he's no longer able to paint. But as a child, I remember he had an easel up in kind of a dining area in our house. And I must have driven him crazy because I was so fascinated with it. We all were, that I would stand right at his shoulder and watch what he was doing, and just
Oh,
every brush stroke and every move he made, I was just in awe of
how old
his
were you?
talent. Oh, from the time I was really small.
Okay.
He took a course by mail and they sent him books, and it was fairly expensive for what our family could manage at the time, but it was not his job, but his passion. He was an SIU police officer, police
Okay.
lieutenant.
Oh, really?
Um, but he loved to paint, and so he would get these books and taught him about sketching and landscape painting and all kinds of different things. I just thought it was amazing. So I have some of his paintings now. My siblings have some. He has an attic full of paintings. But then he started doing sketching down the road years later. And so he has been kind enough to make copies of every sketch for me and my three siblings.
Oh, that's
And
nice.
so we currently have notebooks full of plastic sleeves with his drawings.
Oh,
I
wow.
think I think every one of them.
Wow,
So
that's
um,
amazing.
it was just always that way growing up, going on vacations, canoeing and camping, and very simple experiences, but all about nature and colors and reading and learning. My parents didn't have a lot to work with, but they were fascinating people, and I'm so lucky they raised me.
Absolutely. So that's how your love for art kind of started.
I think so. I know it had to be from
It
them.
was there already,
It was there. It was,
but
I
it
learned,
started blooming after, when you actually started looking at your father's paintings and you saw him painting as well.
and they also had a jewelry business,
Oh,
and
okay.
they, on vacations, they would collect rocks, agates of all kinds. And my dad had a nice lapidary saw in the basement. So he would sometimes get a big agate and shave very thin layers off and maybe make a clock face with that
Hmm.
and build a clock into it. Or he made wind chimes out of them and then he would polish them. My mom has a lot of jewelry from stones that he cut into different shapes and mounted them for her. That's not something I learned how to do, but my dad was really good at it. And he and my mom used to go to craft shows and sell jewelry. And I just thought it was the neatest thing that he could do things with his hands in addition to building the house I grew up in
Okay.
himself.
Right.
He and my mom did that together.
Oh, wow.
So there was always inspiration, always. Just anywhere you look, my dad made that, or my mom did that, or dad painted this. And I had a good friend next door that I grew up, always my best friend. I still know her, and she still lives locally. But she and her siblings would come to our house and say, "It's like a museum." And it gave me an appreciation for just what they offered us.
Right.
It was a lot of great experience in my youth that it still lives in me.
Wow. That's when they used to go to those fairs and to sell those jewelries. Did you used to go with them as well?
Absolutely. Yes, I did. I went with them until my son was probably 5, 6, 7 years old. I would take my kids to visit them. And then when my youngest daughter, who's now 29, when she was about 3 or 4, I started making jewelry. And I go to those same art and craft fairs and
Okay.
sell there, sometimes in the same spot that they were in.
Oh,
And some of the older people who have been vendors there since my parents were there, they got to know me, and now a lot of them are gone, and there are new younger people. They're doing the same thing. So it evolves over time, but I got my first experience with craft shows being with my parents there and watching what they would sell that my dad had handmade, or a necklace that my mom strung with beads and agates and things that they collected through their travel.
right. So you already told us that, you started making jewelry when your youngest was about 3, 4 years old, right?
Mhm.
But when your art journey literally started, like when you started your own art journey, like, and how it started, like what kind of art you started with? Maybe it was a painting or something else.
I think it probably was. Well, I remember one thing that encouraged me to start to make my first piece of jewelry. I was in a department store and I was looking at a necklace that looked like turquoise, the stone turquoise. And I thought it was so pretty, and the cost wasn't bad, but I realized it wasn't actually turquoise. I learned enough from my parents to know what's a real gemstone and what's resin or plastic.
Uh-huh.
And even though it looked pretty good, I knew it wasn't the real thing,
Huh.
which instantly made it overpriced, because
Right,
at
right.
that cost, it would have been worth the real thing, but not an imitation, not resin or plastic. So I told myself, I can do that. And
Yeah.
I tried it a couple times. There was a lot of failure early on,
Of course.
because I was kind of teaching myself and not really learning from what my parents had done so much. But it evolved over time, and I thought, people are making a living doing this kind of thing. And my parents, it was a hobby They both had jobs, but their hobby was a lot of fun. So I just started trying it, and I did not make that first necklace. I started with earrings and simple little things. And I remember the first time someone asked me at the farmer's market in Carbondale, "Can you make me a necklace, or can you make me a bracelet?" And I said, "Oh, no, I don't do that." And then I thought, why don't I do that? I think I could do that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I just start trying things, and it doesn't always work out the first time, but maybe the second or the third time.
Right.
So really, it was a jewelry inspired desire, I think, that got me going at first. I wanted something, and I wasn't willing to pay for it as it was, and so I just started practicing, trial and error.
Okay. So do you remember what was the first successful jewelry you made?
I don't, not really.
Okay. Do you still
I
have it by any chance?
I don't even know what it was.
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay.
I have some very old things. My sister actually was kind enough to take a lot of jewelry that I gave her and wear it and enjoy it.
Okay.
We look back at it later and realize it was very primitive and not very well done. And so
Okay. Okay.
I encouraged her to give me a lot of those back and let me remake them
Uh-huh.
or make her something different instead, because I didn't think they were good enough to wear. I didn't want people to see that and know that was my work, because it was just the beginning of my hobby.
Okay.
So a lot of those don't exist anymore because we took them apart and made other things out of them.
Oh, really? Oh, nice.
So yeah, I don't know about, I think I still have the first necklace I made, maybe.
Okay. Okay. So what kind of jewelries you make?
Well, everything from beaded, long wire strands of beaded jewelry, mostly glass, Czechoslovakian glass, some crystal.
Oh, what's that?
Crystal?
Czechoslovakian glass is a crystal?
Well, no, they're two different things.
Uh-huh.
Czechoslovakian glass comes from the Czech Republic, and there's a lot of beautiful glass out there. It might be table cut beads, and then Austrian crystal, which is clear but can be in almost any color. It's a specific made from Swarovski, which is very hard to find now because they no longer sell it at all kinds of jewelry and bead stores. It's pretty exclusive now, so it's harder to get and it's more expensive. But at one time I had quite a bit of it and still have some stockpiled for a special event, special occasion.
Okay.
I've used that in wedding jewelry. I've done wedding jewelry for maybe a dozen different marriages.
Wow, nice.
Sometimes they want all matching, and sometimes they want each one a little different, a different color, a different shape or design.
Okay.
Something that I've done in the last couple of years is I started cutting metals with a jewelry saw, which I had out here. Here it is. My jewelry saw doesn't currently have a blade in it. You wouldn't be
Right.
able to see it anyway because it's about as big as a hair.
Right, right,
They're
right.
very thin, but you can hold it up and cut through metals.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And I have a vise on my work table to hold the metal still while I cut it.
Okay.
So a few years ago, I took a photo of my dog and I reduced it down on my computer to about the right size for a pendant. And I printed that picture and I cut it out. And then I laid it down on a piece of sterling silver. And I cut that out. And this is my dog, Kobe.
Right.
So Kobe is now a pendant that I can wear around my neck.
Right.
And so I did several of those. I did a brass one and a bronze one. Bronze is very hard and it's hard to cut out of. So I made a pendant and then I put this in a frame, and that's my dog in a picture frame.
That's amazing. This is very artistic for sure, especially with that decorated frame.
Thank you.
It
So
looks
I
really
I
awesome.
liked my dog necklace so much that I did buffaloes, one for my daughter's or
Oh,
my son's wife
okay.
and one for his sister. And then sometimes you can use the section that you cut the shape out of. And I did some bears for my daughters. And so this little moon shape is
Right, that's
what's
a bear.
left,
Right.
what's left after I cut the bear out.
Uh-huh,
So it's
uh-huh.
kind of a little bear eclipse.
Right. Yes, yes, it is.
So
By the
those
way,
are,
do you have that the after cutout part of for the buffalo as well?
yes.
Okay. Did you frame it as well?
No, I haven't framed it.
Okay.
But what I did for my son's wife is she has a sister that she's very close to.
Uh-huh.
And so his wife got a buffalo like this one, and the sister got the moon shape that fit around it.
Okay, got it.
So they have like the opposite pieces there.
Right. Yes, yes. Complementary.
Yeah. So sometimes I keep them, but sometimes they're a little bit cut up and destroyed in the process,
Sure, sure.
and they aren't really in great shape after that.
That's so that's amazing.
Would you
You,
like to see some of the tools?
yes, absolutely.
So this, I don't even know what this is called, but this has a wedge that goes inside. So you can put a little piece of metal in if you want to sand it or something, and then this wedge goes in
Okay.
and holds it still, holds it tight,
Oh wow.
so
Okay.
it won't slip out.
Right.
Like I said, I don't know what this tool is called, but it's been very handy for me.
Right.
I have jewelry hammers. This is a small fraction of them. There are
Okay.
a lot of different hammers that might be used to flatten pieces of metal that you're working on, a plastic one. I have both a rubber and a very heavy steel bench block for hammering
Right.
on metals. This piece of copper was in my garage attic after we built our home. It was just left over from copper flashing, and it's become quite valuable to me. I can make jewelry out of it, and it has
Yeah. Yeah.
two different meanings. Sanding blocks, which are good for smoothing the surface of metal after you've cut it. Sometimes I make my own out of a little piece of wood and sandpaper with double-sided tape inside.
Right.
There are lots of different kinds of gauges for measuring things to make sure you get the right size. Sanding tools,
Right. Yeah.
other sanding tools. This heavy piece is a disc cutter. And
got
you
it.
loosen it up, slide a piece of metal in the groove, and then when you tighten it down, which I won't do, but you can tighten it down with this, put whichever one of these fits properly in the hole, hammer it down, and it will cut out a fresh copper or brass or silver disc, so that you can make your own metal blanks that way.
Right.
It's a little harder. They take a lot of sanding. And then once you've made a round metal blank, you can give it a concave shape with
Right.
a
Yeah.
dap set. So you hammer this down in, start with a larger hole, and then get smaller as you go. So you can make a moon shape. I did that in 2017 for the eclipse. I made a lot of little half moon pieces of metal out of blanks that I made myself.
Okay.
So 2 sets of flat nose pliers for opening and closing jump rings. Cutters, metal cutters, round needle nose pliers. This one is a hole punch for a tiny, probably a 1.5 millimeter hole. These are for wire wrapping, different sizes.
Right. Right.
There are a lot of different tools. These are for cutting leather or metal, shears. Back early on, I felt like a bit of a fraud saying that I was a jewelry maker. It didn't quite seem like I really had all those skills, But once I looked around at my tools and realized I know how to use a lot of these,
Yeah.
I have a couple or three different vices to use to hold things in place while I work. I started thinking maybe I am a jeweler.
Yes.
Maybe I'm the
Yes.
real thing.
Yeah. This is really amazing. I mean,
Thank
there are
you.
so many effort actually goes into it, and so many tools that you actually use in different, giving it different shape or different style
Mhm.
and everything.
That's true.
So it's on its own. It's like a science on its own, literally.
It did take some learning, and it's all of the metal work is a very different thing from what I started out doing, which was just stringing beads, either on a little head pin, a little wire head pin that's very stiff for an earring, or stringing a necklace. The first time I ordered a big box of beads, I don't remember where it came from, if it was from China or Japan or somewhere in the Far East. It might have been a Middle Eastern location. But I do remember when that box came, and it was a kilo or a kilo and a half of beads. I can't tell you exactly what that weight is, but it was heavy. And I dumped them out on the floor, and I sat on the floor, and I picked them up in my hands like they were gold or some kind of treasure. And I ran my fingers through them, and I just looked for a long time. And I started getting this feeling about where those beads came from and who touched them last. Someone packaged them to mail to me from maybe an outdoor street market or who knows where. But probably the person that handled them before that was the bead maker, who had all the skill. It's easy enough to string them and make a necklace, but the skill is really in the creation of the beads, melting the glass, or whatever material is used. So I really felt a connection to whoever had started that whole process, and their product is now on the other side of the world in my hands, and I'm just thrilled to pieces with it.
Right. Wow. Just a tiny art can connect people across the world, right? It's so amazing.
Absolutely. And I still buy a lot of metals from someone in Turkey through the Etsy app. I buy from all over the world, from local bead shops, local stores. Joanne Fabrics carries some beads. One of my favorites is in Canada.
Okay.
So, if I see something I really like, I'll keep going back to that business, that store, and it turns out they usually have something else that I really like. And
Right.
so I continue to give them my business. But then it's great sometimes to find something completely new. A small vendor on Etsy that makes something that's perfect for what I'm doing. Maybe it's a moon for the eclipse. Just you never know. I do like working with metals, and I actually have some eclipse necklaces here. A lot of different styles that are all somewhat similar. The metal moon shapes
Yeah.
came from Turkey. And this one also is from the same vendor in Turkey. They might get a little tangled up here. But you can see that they have a bit of an eclipse theme.
Right.
And this one does not have the metal. These are all fairly similar and tangled. But this one is a shell. And so it has a little ball behind it that's also a shell. So you can see the eclipse theme with that one. And this one is actually a chambered nautilus.
Right.
This white moon shape is a chambered nautilus shell. And several sections of it cut perfectly and glued together.
Wow.
So we have an eclipse coming up, and since I sell my things at the Carbondale Farmers Market, I'm really getting ready for the eclipse and preparing some things that are going to be hopefully very popular.
So you told me that it's on 8th of April, right?
Yes, it's around 2 o'clock, maybe 10 till 2. You'd have to look it up to be sure, but it is April 8th. That's a Monday, and it's starts in the northwestern or southwestern part of the United States, and it goes to the northeast this time. And the last time in 2017, when we had an eclipse, it went exactly the opposite from the northwest United States
Right.
to the southeast. And so our town here, McCanda, Carbondale, both eclipses pass right through. So this is truly the eclipse crossroads. And if you're
Yeah.
skeptical, look it up on the NASA website, because they show the previous eclipse going right across my mailbox and down into my little town of McCanda, where I live, and right through the store, one of the storefronts in McCanda.
Wow. That's you are actually absolutely right on, that this area is actually falls in the crossroads of eclipses for sure. It's so
Yeah,
many.
it really does. And it brings a lot of people.
Right.
I have heard that there are eclipse chasers who travel around the world to see the eclipses. So good for them.
Yeah. And you told me also that last time NASA was here also, right?
NASA was here. They were at SIU. I anticipate they will be there again.
Right, of course.
My brother was very fortunate to have a fun experience at that event. He was at the SIU arena, and he brought his very wonderful, high-powered magical telescope. And he had it set up with all the proper safety lenses.
Right.
And the governor of Illinois was there and said,
Uh-huh.
"Sir, can I look through your telescope?" And he was so enamored with his view through this telescope, looking at the sun and the moon and what was happening in the sky. People had to come and pull him away and say, "Governor, NASA's waiting for you." My brother loves telling that story.
That's a really fun experience for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that would be fantastic. I actually got some glasses as well for the eclipse.
Yeah, it's very important. You have to have them or you're not going to see it.
Yeah.
Although there are a few moments where it's safe to look while the moon is completely in front of the sun, and we do have totality. It's all right to take the glasses off and look briefly, but you have to be very careful about that.
Now, if you could actually tell us about the store and your business. And first of all, how long you have been doing the jewelry, making the jewelry in terms of how many years now?
Well, I always have to back up to my daughter's age.
Uh-huh.
She's almost 29, and she was 3 or 4 then.
It would be almost like 25 years.
Yes, yeah.
Wow.
So that's how long I've been making jewelry. I didn't really sell anywhere for a while. I was giving jewelry to my friends, and one of my friends was a member of the Carbondale Farmers Market. And she said, "You really should be selling this instead of giving it away." And my husband agreed that my hobby should be paying for itself. So I did start going to the farmers market as just a weekly vendor. And eventually I became a member in maybe 1999 or 2000. And now I'm the farmers market vice president for the past 10 years or so. It's a fabulous market. I'm very lucky that I've gotten to meet a lot of organic farmers and other creative people, artists, painters, potters, all different kinds of people there. It's a great mix of both vendors and I have a cat.
No worries.
Both vendors and customers. It's really been a treat getting to know people.
Right. Yeah. Wow.
Occasionally someone will come to me at the market and say, "I have this piece of jewelry. It belonged to my grandmother, or it belonged to my mother who I recently lost. I would like to wear it, but it's broken. The chain is broken or the wire broke and it needs to be restrung." is that something you can do? And I never promise that I can until I look at it. But occasionally I can get it back in good condition. And people who are sentimental, like myself, old things mean a lot to me, and things that belong to someone that I knew and cared about, that's a big deal. So if I can help someone get a bit of a family heirloom, an old necklace or a bracelet or something, or earrings in good condition again, so the children or the grandchildren can enjoy them, that's a really good feeling for me.
Right. That's really nice.
I've made a lot of rosaries for my Catholic friends
Okay.
and customers. Someone asked me recently to make a mala necklace, which is, I believe, 108 prayer beads.
Oh, right. Mala. Yes, you're right.
Mala. So his I made out of carnelian, which ended up being his birthstone. And so it was about the only thing that I had enough beads to do it with. And when he discovered that's also his birthstone, he was very excited. It's like it was meant to be.
Yeah, it was.
So I learned things along the way from others' needs, what they need or want done.
Right.
I have to say, making a lot of handmade rosaries with each wire for each bead has 2 loops, one on each end. And I think that helped my arthritis to become what it is today. It's pretty bad. That's not stopping me, however.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely understand the drive for, the thing that you really love. It actually drives you so hard that you really forget about pain as well.
Yeah, that's true. I can work for a few hours and stop and then think, oh, my hand is really
Right.
it needs a break.
Right. So where anybody can actually find these fantastic pieces?
Well, they will find me with these pieces at the Carbondale Farmers Market, and that starts on March 30th, and it runs every Saturday morning from 8 o'clock until noon. So I am there selling. I also have work in Visions Art Gallery in Makanda, Illinois. I've been selling there for probably close to 20 years. It's gone through a couple of different owners, but it's a great place to sell my things. It's a tiny little town with a large volume of visitors. There's a store in Carbondale called Cristado's, which is a bakery. It's a wonderful bakery. If you haven't been, you have to check it out. They also have a restaurant, and they have a little gift shop called Sixpence. So I've been selling there, and when the pandemic started, they closed for a while, but they're really getting going again now, and it's open, and they have wonderful meals. And then the other store is called Miranda's Loom. It's in Murfreesboro, just west of Carbondale, and that's a newer store, but someone who I met through my love of kitties and rescuing kitties. We kind of kindred spirits in that way. She opened a store, and I'm selling there now as well, I think since this past October. But the farmers market, I think this is our 49th year for this Carbondale Farmers Market. It was voted, I think, the 3rd best in the Midwest a few years ago. We have 28 regular vendors and probably 15 visiting vendors most weeks. So there's a huge variety, lots of wonderful fresh produce. You get to know the farmer that grew your dinner. There are chicken, egg vendors. Someone has beef, someone has bison. It's really remarkable. Fresh plants and trees, and it's a wonderful market. I'm lucky to be there. I'm so happy to be part of it.
Could you actually share the location?
It's at Westtown Parking Lot, which is the west end of Carbondale. If you travel through Carbondale on Main Street going west toward Murfreesboro. It's just about the last thing you see on your way out of town. There is the Murdale Shopping Center. It's a big, long strip mall. Tequila's restaurant is over there, and Ace Hardware, and the post office, the West Side Post Office is there. There's a Shell station that might grab your attention. It's probably the closest thing to the highway. But the farmers market is in a parking lot right between the post office and the Shell station every Saturday. It's a wonderful spot. It's nice and big. There's plenty of room for parking.
Okay. So this is for the audience. So I'll add all these locations in the description, including the address as well, and the link for the websites as well. You also have a Facebook link, right?
I have a Facebook page, yes, for my business.
For your business,
It's
right?
Lisa's Local Color. I can
Okay.
give you a
I'll
link for
also add
that.
that link in the description as well, so that everybody should actually go there. I would definitely encourage. As you saw already, the jewelries are fantastic, and
Thank you.
it's a piece of art. It's a piece of culture, and it's a piece of an exceptionally rare incident or the event that's going to happen on April 8th. So definitely go and check it out. You can wear it while watching the eclipse.
Exactly.
Really thank you for your time. So appreciate it. And I get to see a lot of fantastic art pieces that you made and how much work that you do, how much time that you put behind it with the tools that you have. Those are, it's a complete experience for me. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate
Well,
the time.
I really appreciate you having me as a part of your podcast. And I'm so pleased.
Yeah. So thank you very much. Thank you for staying with us till the end. Please like and share these videos and subscribe to the channel for more inspiring podcasts like this. Till next time.